Welcome to today's live stream, and this is day 4 of a 28-day series that I'm doing around mindfulness talks to bring more awareness to mental health, especially in the Black community, and to also apply um, apply philosophies of mindfulness and how it fits in with your daily routine of mental health and self-care. So today's topic is listening to the body instead of pushing it. And how can we listen to the body more and catch these signs? Ooh, excuse me. How can we pay more attention to these signs that our body's showing us that we're tired or we're not getting enough nutrients or vitamins that we need, or our body is deficient in something or lacking something like sleep. And I'm a believer that the body kind of heals itself. For example, this is just a small example. I used to ride my bike all the time when I was young, and that was like one of my favorite things to do. Um, I still like riding a bike now that I'm older, but I used to ride my bike in my parents' house. In the front of the house, we have this big hill that, from the driveway, the platform of the driveway, the hill goes down and it's steep. When I was young, around 9 or 10, I rode my bike and I kept riding my bike down the steep hill. And, one time I rode the bike down the hill and I didn't stop in time, or I stopped too abruptly, I should say. And then I fell off the bike and scraped my knee, and it hurt really, really bad. I think the scar or the scrape is still somewhat there on my knees, on my left knee. So I had to heal, of course, after my mom put like, ooh, excuse me, just woke up. After she put like some, I think hydrogen peroxide on it. You know, that hydrogen peroxide says a little bit like this to sanitize, I guess, the area and cleanse the area. Then, soon enough, there was like a scab over it, or there was like a film that was like a little bit um, soft. The skin was trying to grow it back, and my body was trying to heal itself. Because that's what the body does. It finds a way to start to heal itself. So that's one thing. I have 4 kind of main points today for this topic. And for this topic of listening to the body, whether you're watching on replay, whether you're watching this on live, how do you listen to the body? Or what is something specifically that you want to listen to the body more? Let's put that in the Q&A. What is something that you often ignore? Let's see, how should I ask this question? What is something that you often ignore about your body uh, that you shouldn't? Oh, that's too long of a question. What is, okay, what does your body, the question is going to be, what does your body often tell you to do, but you ignore it? Okay, that's the Q&A. So if you'd like to answer it, great. I'll answer first. What does my body do? What does my body often tell me to do, but I ignore? My body often tells me to go to sleep early. Um, but something that I struggle with. Um, Unless I'm just really, really tired, sometimes I might fall asleep with my phone in my hand. I know that's bad, but lately I haven't been doing as much digital detoxing before bed. Another thing that my body tells me to do is to eat on time. And sometimes if I'm like locked into doing something, I won't eat on time. So then later on, I'm hungry or I get a headache or something like that. All right. So if you're enjoying this live stream, please give it a thumbs up because that definitely helps me by helping other people find the live stream. So yeah, definitely give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying these convos. Yesterday we talked about the ramifications of always being the strong friend or the strong person in your life, and we talked about how we often train people how to treat you, or how we often train people how to treat us. And it's like some of us, we're willing to give so much of ourselves and pour into others, but we're not willing to receive in the same manner. And then we talked about setting boundaries. So I have my notes here today, as you can see, for day 4. My first point of focus is pushing your body is a learned behavior. Um, Hello, good morning, Nelani Austin. Um, One of the first things we learned early is how to push our bodies. And this reminds me of just like this idea of when you're an adult and you're stressed out because you got bills to pay and you got to budget and things come up that um, you didn't foresee. As you get older, maybe the situations, the problems, they get more difficult because you're able to handle more. However, earlier on in our life, we didn't have to handle that difficult of situation. So we didn't really have to push much. But now, um, this we can see that this has been a learned behavior, ignoring what your body is telling you because instead of being restful or instead of going to the doctor to get something checked up on that you know is wrong, um, we push through it because we feel like we don't have time enough to go to the doctor. We feel like that will slow us down. We think that putting more money into our health will slow our money down. And first of all, our health is the most important thing, more than our jobs, more than making money, more than anything else. Because if you don't have the fortitude, is that the right word? If you don't have the mental fortitude to actually go out and put your best effort into whatever you're doing because you're sick, then if you get really, really sick, that's when your health starts to become first. If you start to, God forbid, if you start to deal with intense anxiety and depression, then that, mentally bettering yourself becomes first. But it's only when it usually gets to a point where it's like tipping over the edge that we actually do something about it, especially mental health. And it's because, and I'm just writing this in my notes, especially mental health, we usually wait until the last minute, but that's literally a result of us pushing our bodies to the edge, and then waiting until we get to the edge to say, "Oh my gosh, now it's time to do something. Now I finally have a valid enough reason to go get this issue checked up on that I've had for like 5 years." But it's because in the first 6 months that you had the issue, maybe your body was like whispering, "Hey, we need to get checked on. This little issue that you have, this little thing, it's going to get worse." And then we ignored it because we thought, I don't have enough money to get this checked out at the time. I don't have enough time. This is not worth my time. However, that little whisper just starts to get louder and louder and louder then it starts to scream. So in the first 6 months, whereas it was a whisper, now it's 4 years or 5 years down, and now your body is screaming at you. But the reason why we push it is because when we tell ourselves things like, oh, I don't have the time to deal with this right now because it's not that important. But if you're in pain, even if you're in pain mentally, like for example, stress or anxiety, I view that as you're in pain mentally. Even if you're in pain in some type of mental way or physical way, and you tell yourself, I don't have the time to deal with this right now, what you're really saying is that my health isn't important. My mental state isn't important. My mental stability isn't important. And I'm not important. So, um, just writing down in my notes, I'm not important because that's literally what we're saying to ourselves when we say that. So, the first point, like I said, is pushing ourselves is a learned habit. When we learn this, I don't know, it's probably a little bit different for everybody. However, a family friend recently told me this, and it stuck with me because I was like, oh, excuse me. I was like, I need to get this tatted on me. She said, human beings are supposed to flow. We're not supposed to go. And I immediately feel like the holistic care that I learned to prioritize over anything that Western society has taught me has so much more importance, so much more prevalence because we've been taught as a society to go, go, go. And when you're always going, you're not even getting any chance to pay attention to what's really happening in your body. But the body is supposed to flow. When I think about the way that blood flows through our body, through our veins, to help keep us help the circulatory system recycle toxins in our body. Well, that's not exactly what the circulatory system does, but in essence, that is something that our body does. And then I also think about how our breath is meant to flow normally. These are our breath and our blood flow and our heart pumping. Boop, 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 boop. These are systems in our body that are designed to flow. What happens when your breath isn't flowing? This is a flow. It doesn't always go that fast, but our body naturally flows. And then what happens when we start to ignore the natural rhythm of the flow in life? Our body starts to go from to because we're not honoring our natural body's natural ability to flow. What happens when taking this application away from the breath, but our heartbeat, our heartbeat is no longer do 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 to regulate our blood flow. Having a high heart rate is not fun. If you've ever had that, you feel slow, you feel sluggish, you feel like you can't perform at your highest capacity, at your best capacity. And there are real ramifications to these systems of our body being out of the flow state. But our body literally, if you look at the systems in the body and the way that the human body is designed, we flow. We flow. Our breath flows and our blood flows. So, in life, that is how we are to operate, just like how the creator, just how God made our bodies to flow. We're supposed to flow with the natural movements of life. We're not supposed to be going and forcing things. Let's talk about, and by the way, if you're enjoying this live stream, then give it a thumbs up. Let's talk about next how pushing through pain is actually normalized in the Black community. Yesterday, when I was on Instagram, I saw this kind of thread about how a nurse, a Black nurse, is talking about the rates at which Black and brown, I think she said Black and brown people or Black and brown women specifically, the rates at which Black and brown women are denied pain treatment in the hospital because our pain is not seen as valid. It's also not seen in the medical field as urgent to deal with. And I think that I don't think, I know that widely stems from this very deeply rooted into the subconscious stereotype of the strong Black woman, in that if you are Black, you are meant to handle the toughest, most hardest challenges of life. And that stereotype still kind of prevails in the Black community, with Black mothers seen as superwoman, and um that and it shows up in other ways too, that perpetuate this thought, this systemized beliefs. It's honestly like a belief system because it's systemic, that Black people are are meant or built to withstand more pain in a higher pain tolerance than people of other ethnic backgrounds. So this nurse talked about these statistics, and she said, here is how, if you are in the hospital and you're dealing with pain, here's the language that you need to have in order to signal to them that your pain is needs to be taken seriously. And just let's just stop right there. Just the fact that she has to vocalize that, number one, Black people's pain is not taken seriously in the medical field. And number two, you have to actually say certain things and you have to have certain vocabulary when you're in the hospital in order to make sure that you get treated for pain, because otherwise they might not take your pain seriously. Um, just that right there is a really unfortunate thought to me. Um, and and then it made me think about this second point, how pushing through pain is normalized in the Black community, because we've been taught systemically to think in this way about ourselves too, that Black women are super women and they can handle any job. When I was younger, I definitely, and I still think that my mom is, uh, you know, very super, superhero-ish. However, in some ways, that thought and that viewpoint of Black women in specifics puts us at a huge disadvantage, because we are approached often in a way that suggests that we don't need the help that other people get, because we're meant to withstand more, physically more. And that translates to a lot of things in life. How we are seen as people who can just pull up our bootstraps. We talked about yesterday how the costs of being the strong friend all the time, the strong friend or the strong family member, um, how the toll that takes on one's body, one's mind. And I think that this topic of pushing through your pain is also very relevant in the sense of feeling like you don't need to ask for help because you're supposed to be the one who always helps other people, and you always got it and you're always on top of things because you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you can handle more pain and you can withstand more. It's literally a physical stereotype that keeps black women from embracing a certain softness instead of pushing through things and instead of forcing through things because I really think and I really have observed that we still have that stigma really deeply and it runs deep within our community. Um, so pushing through pain is normalized in the Black community. How can we start to not normalize it and destigmatize that? Um, what I just talked about yesterday, one of the main things is realizing how we've trained ourselves and we've trained other people how to treat us. Literally, the medical system has been trained to not treat our pain symptoms as real pain. So throughout history, we've seen so many Black women be denied the correct amount of treatment, correct type of treatment when being in labor. Um, having other types of like autoimmune disorders or diseases and things like that. So we can start to change the stigma within our own minds by noticing how other people are trained to talk to us or perceive us and start to catch it and say, no, this is not true. I don't have a higher pain tolerance because I'm Black. This is a stereotype that people link to genetics as a way or as a means to keep on perpetuating or keep on running this system of um, all types of things, criminalization, um, justified healthcare disparities, et cetera, and the list goes on. And this, if this continues, and is continued for far too long, this will continue to be dangerous for Black people. And it's something, it's one of the main things that continues to put us more so in harm's way by other people who have these stigmas, um, even ourselves. So, my first point is pushing yourself is learned early, especially with pushing your body too hard and ignoring mental health signs. When we first learn that our body is whispering to us that we have something to be dealt with, we need to go get checked for something, then when we hear that whisper, hear it the first time and don't ignore it. On the second is that point is that pushing through pain is normalized in the Black community. Then my third talking point is that the body speaks quietly before it speaks loudly. I already talked about this in the first point that pushing your body was learned very early, but um, you know how God's voice, like when you know something because God's voice is there, is present. It starts as like a whisper, and it's like a little inkling that you get, and it's very subtle. However, if you ignore it the first time, you're like, I have this feeling, I have this intuition about something, but I don't really know if that's what my body's really saying, so I'm gonna just ignore it for now. And then once you ignore that whisper, it starts to become a louder and louder and louder voice. Eventually, you may hear that same voice through speaking through other people, telling you the same thing that you heard as your spirit was telling you, that God was telling you. But later on, it becomes louder. Now, other people, friends around you, might try to deliver that same message to you, or you might see signs or start seeing numbers um, around in your day-to-day life that indicate that, hey, if you didn't listen this time when it was a whisper, now I'm going to start trying to speak louder to you through other channels, through other means of communication, because sometimes we just ignore what is so simply told to us that we don't believe it, so we have to hear it through other people or through other things. Mm. So the body definitely speaks quietly before it speaks loudly. So before the body starts to speak loudly, we want to be able to be like ahead of that schedule so that we limit as much suffering as we can. Because I think a lot of suffering can be avoided um, when we first listen to the pain that our body is feeling. And it might not start out as pain, it might just start out as just a feeling that we have that we need, that something is off. So the first point, pushing yourself was learned early. So when you push yourself, you see yourself as not important. The second point, pushing through pain is normalized in the Black community. The third point is the body speaks quietly as a soft whisper before it speaks loudly. And then the fourth point is listen to your body and your mind so you can respond and pivot. How do we listen? One of the best ways that I listen to my body is literally to sit and practice mindfulness through meditation, through yoga, through any sort of stillness, any sort of stillness that is allowing you to not to be occupied with doing anything physical, not reading, not talking, not scrolling on your phone, but it's literally just sitting and noticing. So here's a really good mindfulness practice that I like to do to help increase um, my brain's capacity to listen to my body. And it's called a body scan meditation. So we'll do a gentle practice together. Won't be too long, but just to show you how the body scan meditation works. So you can close the eyes, then relax the hands and let the palms fall face down on your legs or on your knees. Relax your shoulders and relax your face. And start to notice your breath, the breath coming in through the nose, the breath coming out through the nose. Notice the breath coming in, the breath going out. We've already started to practice body awareness just by shifting your awareness from what I was saying now to your breath. Take another breath in, another breath out. Now shift all of your awareness to your legs. Notice any sensation in the bottom of the legs, around the calves, maybe around the feet. Feel all 10 toes on the feet. Now direct your awareness toward the upper part of the legs. Notice any sensations there and bring your awareness into the hands. Just focus right here as if you have a spotlight that you're shining on this area of the body. Notice all 10 fingers. Then bring your awareness into the arms, into the lower part of the arm, the forearm, come up through the elbow, then up into the upper part of the arms. Now notice your face and bring all awareness into the muscles of the face. Notice your cheekbones, the jaw. Notice if the jaw is clenched at all, like unclench the jaw. Notice above the two eyebrows whether you're having any tension there. Now bring the awareness back to the breath. Notice your inhale and exhale. Now, when you're ready, start to open the eyes. All right, that was a meditation called body scan meditation. It allows you to have more awareness of your body and allows you to notice the flow, the natural rhythm of the body, the heartbeat. We notice the breath, notice the different sensations in the body because the body literally is a flowing being. We're not meant to be stuck and stagnant. And if any of our systems or our energy is stuck and stagnant with the body, we are meant to notice it. And your body will start to give you signs that something is stuck or stagnant. The key is to not ignore the signs. The key is to practice mindfulness every single day. So, whether that to you is just sitting and doing 5 minutes of this and just breathing and practicing focused attention on one thing. So it could be your body, it could be your breath. Um, and then when you notice something is off with your body, responding to it, going and getting checked up, a checkup, going and do some research around what symptoms that you have. Um, or just simply a lot of things could be solved by um, getting more rest, getting more sleep. Sleep does wonders. So, yes, thank you all so much for joining my live stream today. And then if you're watching on the replay, then also put in the comments what you what was your favorite part of the live stream, what you learned from it, and when you um, start to practice your mindfulness practice, what are you going to notice in your body that you've been ignoring? Give this live stream a thumbs up so other people can uh, find it. And I will see you all tomorrow morning, probably a little bit earlier than today, for another mindfulness talk. All right. Thanks so much for joining me, and peace and blessings. Bye.